I had a work trip back in March 2024 to Singapore and decided to turn it into also a motorcycle trip around Malaysia. Did about 1,600 miles, and this video will cover that. The first couple days here was just some shots from Singapore, an amazing city with just untold architecture and places to eat and just amazing sights. If you haven't been there, highly recommend it. I had to search really hard to find a company that would actually rent me a motorcycle in Singapore, then go to Malaysia. There's a bridge that connects the two countries. Singapore is an island, and was lucky to find one that allowed me to take the motorcycle for about 9 days. It was ridiculously cheap. It was like $350. So if you're ever in Southeast Asia, I highly recommend, and you ride motorcycles, I highly recommend renting a motorcycle. It was one of my most fun trips and most adventurous I've been on so far. So I took an Uber from the hotel to this kind of garage in the middle of nowhere and rented an MT-07 with about 46,000 miles. I thought it was a typo, or I thought I was reading the odometer wrong. But yeah, man, freaking workhorse of a bike, and got it ready, and yeah, just kind of left in the morning. Here's a light show called Garden Rhapsody at the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. And another light show called Spectra. And a trip wouldn't be complete to Singapore without the infamous Merlion. One last breakfast, and then I'm off to Malaysia. The goal was to circle the entire west side of the country, stop in our factory in Penang, and then circle back to the east side, and then finish in Singapore and fly out. Like I mentioned before, there's a bridge that connects Singapore and Malaysia, and you have to go through the border on the Singapore side and then the border on the Malaysia side. Unfortunately, I broke the gate on the Malaysia side, and they are extremely pissed. So I've been having issues getting through this gate, and I accidentally backed up and apparently broke the gate. So now they came over and yelled at me. So I'm waiting for them to open the back gate so I can get out of here. It's super confusing. Dumb American. I've been here like 15 minutes. They were really pissed. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. I know. First stop was Malacca. It's a coastal city on the west side port, and it has I guess a famous place called Jonker Street, which is antique shops and a really cool night market. One of the things I was pretty fascinated on this trip is I didn't do any planning like hotels. I just kind of went with it, knew a rough outline of what I wanted, and then I would get into a town and just kind of look on Expedia, and I'm telling you, the rooms are like $20 to $40 for like just really nice rims. So the cost in Malaysia was probably a quarter of what you would experience in Europe or America. I was kind of blown away about how affordable that country was. Yeah, so here's Jonker Street. Most of the places I went to in Malaysia had night markets, and that's where I ate most of my food, walked around, and just had a great time exploring those cities at night. My standard thing was I would, get out of the hotel about 9, ride a couple hundred miles, maybe 250 miles, get done about 3 or 4, shower, because I was just, thoroughly sweated the whole entire day. And then go either take the motorcycle and hit all the night markets, or just rock around, a few miles hitting the night markets, and then kind of rinse and repeat. One amazing thing in Malaysia is motorcycles are first class, and you see thousands and thousands. That's the main mode of transport for people. They're on about 125cc, and most of the population there rides motorcycles. So anything goes, you can ride. There's even a separate lane for motorcycles. You can lane split, lane filter, lane whatever you want to do. Anything goes. I encountered a few of these flash storms. They're quick and then they're done. Top 2 favorite meal was a clay pot. Oh my gosh, so delicious. Chicken, rice, beer. I've never had anything quite like it. And this is the famous durian fruit. I guess a lot of people like it. It smells, and most of the hotels you can't bring it, or airplanes. One of the highlights of right outside of Kuala Lumpur is this called the Batu Caves, and there's this Hindu god of war and victory. You climb up the stairs, and then in the caves is like more statues and some religious ceremonies going on. Very fascinating. I think my favorite part of the trip was going to the Cameron Highlands. It's, I think, almost 4,000 or 5,000 feet above sea level. It's where a lot of the Malaysians go for a break because it's a lot cooler. It's one of the, I think, world's largest tea manufacturers. I'll have to double check my facts, but there's tons and tons of tea, and then there's just also tons and tons of strawberries. This is trail 10 to trail 6. I guess there's like 15 trails here. They're all numbered like 1 to 15. Wow. It was like a Stairmaster, like on the highest setting. Yeah, that's weird. There's people here. Apparently I'm going to a summit of a mountain and a tea house. We'll see if I make it. I went to the top, which wasn't really a top, and you couldn't really see anything. I think clouds, and then it actually wasn't a real summit. So that's fine. Whoa. Now I'm going down this hill. Apparently there's a down and then another up to the tea house. This is how the whole trail has been. So I kind of needed to get this on video. Yeah, their definition of trails here is a little to be desired. Apparently there's no wheelchair access. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I'm gonna get to the Cameron Valley Tea House and then see if I can take a taxi back. It's like 3 miles on down the road and like 2 miles back, which I don't feel like doing this in reverse. Oh my God, there's a person. Yeah, you don't see a lot of people doing outdoor activities, I think just because it's so hot and humid there, so that was my only one of the trip. This is my next favorite meal. It's called the Steamboat, and you have your own little kind of hot pot thing, and you put veggies and whatever type of meat, and you cook it. Delicious. Oh my gosh, I can still taste it. It was so freaking good. We have a factory in Penang, which is the top, northwest corner of Malaysia. And before I went there, I toured Georgetown, which there's almost a 9-mile bridge to get over to Georgetown. Pretty cool city. And then I came back and just did a day tour of our factory and met some of the folks that worked there. Had a really good time. Very, very hospitable. Yeah, had a great night and dinner and lunch and all that stuff. For all the safety riders out there, I apologize. I started with the best intentions, had a full riding suit, but oh God, I couldn't last more than a half hour or so. I just stripped down to some bare minimum. I had some really nice boots on and gloves, but that was it, and then a great helmet. But yeah, the pants and the shirt were to be desired. For some unexplainable reason, the Colonel is everywhere in Malaysia. I mean, everywhere. I mean, it could be the addictive chemicals he puts in it that makes you crave it night and day, but I don't know. Kuantan was my favorite city by far. It was on the East Coast, kind of a happy accident. Not a tourist city by any means, and that's, I think, what I liked about it so much. I was the only white foreigner there, really, and so I got to see how everyone kind of lived just their normal day-to-day lives. And I went to a night market, which was great. Had all the native Malaysian food there, and yeah, I just really got to see what they do during the week, just what's a normal part of their life. And the mall culture is strong. Tons and tons of people in malls shopping, malls everywhere. Kind of reminded me of like Shenzhen, just malls everywhere and just so many people shopping in the malls. Mosques everywhere. I probably saw 300 mosques on my trip. Just, yeah, very, very religious. Muslims the main religion. And I think in Kuantan, like, especially the night markets, it was almost 100% of the women had the burqas on. So yeah, very, very religious. One city I went to, I forgot the name of it, there was no alcohol. All right, here is my happiest of accidents. It's called the Kuantan Art Street. And I was walking back to my hotel late at night, and just one of those things where you find this, wasn't even looking for it, made a wrong turn, and it was probably one of the coolest streets in my whole trip to Southeast Asia, just walking around and seeing all the artists that had painted along this really just an alley in the middle of nowhere. Some of the paintings, they even incorporated physical objects, like one guy's cutting hair and there was a haircut chair, there was a guy fishing and there was a boat. These real physical objects were also coming out of the paintings, which is pretty wild. feel like I covered a lot of ground in 8 or 9 days. It's hard to fill it into a 15-minute video, but there you go. This next footage I thought was pretty wild. I was pretty timid starting the trip for cars and in traffic, but by the end of it, I was like unbounded. I had no fear. I don't know if that's good or bad. I heard or read that over 300,000 Malaysians work in Singapore each day and go over the border. I'll also have to check that fact, but it was pretty wild just being with all these motorcycles. And yeah, I want to go back. I want to visit Thailand and Cambodia and Laos and Vietnam and do kind of the same trip at some point. I would love to, now that I have some experience there. Fantastic country and fantastic people.